Greetings YouTubers, this is Ndumiso back with another video. Today we're going to be dealing with data types, C-sharp data types. In the agenda you have numbers, integer types, floating point types, and scientific numbers. As explained in the variables chapter, a variable in C-sharp must be a specified data type. A data type specifies the size and the type of variable values. It is important to use the correct data type for the corresponding variable. Let's look into the numbers. Numbers are divided into two groups. There's the integer types, which store whole numbers, positive or negative, without decimals. Valid types are int and long. So whenever you want to store a positive whole number, you would commonly lean to using int and long data types. Floating point types, which represent numbers with a fractional point containing one or more decimals. Valid types are float and double. So in conclusion, even though there are many numeric C-sharp types, the most used numeric types for numbers are int, which is for whole numbers, and double, which is for floating point numbers. And this is why most of the time you see people coding, they will use your int and your double, and you might not see it long as it is not so common to use. I will explain further. Integer types. The int data type can store whole numbers from a negative whatever this number is. See this big ass number here, 214783648 the positive value of that, minus 1 though. In general, int is a preferred data type when we create variables with a numeric value. And the long data type can store whole numbers from a pretty significant number to a pretty negative one. Please note that this should only be used when the number is too big for an int. So as I said before, the long data type should only be used whenever an int is not enough for it to store that whole number. I hope I made myself clear on that. Floating point number. Floating point types. You should use floating point numbers whenever you need to use a decimal like 9.99 or 3.145. The float and double data types can store fractional numbers. Note, the precision of floating point value indicates how many digits the value can have after the decimal point. The precision of float is only 6 to 7 decimal digits, while the double variables have a precision of about 15 digits, therefore making it safer to use double for most calculations. Scientific numbers. A floating point can be regarded as a scientific number with an e to indicate the power of 10. An example would be float Fi 35e 3f, so 35 to the power of 10 3f. Double di equal to 12e 4d. So you see it indicates to the power of 10. In this case, capital letter E works the same as small letter e. The output here will be console.write line Fi console.run dl. You will see the console.c# snippets whenever I show you on my next video on how to use scientific numbers in code. Key coding rules to remember. Names can contain letters, digits, and underscore character. Names must begin with a letter. Names should start with a lowercase letter and it cannot contain white space. Names are case sensitive. MyVar and MyVar are different variables. And reserved words like C# keywords such as int or double cannot be used as names. Now the only way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. So let's start coding.